Dedicated, determined, dependable. This is News Center at 10 on Fox 23. Now in HD.
It shouldn't happen. It was the first thing that popped into my mind. How could this happen? Pretty severe injuries, all ages. Yeah, it was a horrible experience.
At least 3 people are dead. More than 100 others are injured tonight after multiple explosions at the finish line of the Boston Marathon this afternoon. Just a horrific scene in Boston this afternoon at the running of the marathon. Good evening to you. I'm John Gray.
And I'm Lydia Kolbita. 2 explosions going off in downtown Boston right at the finish line of the marathon. At least 3 people are dead. One of them, an 8-year-old boy. More than 130 are injured, some critically. Reporter Molly Line has the latest.
A series of explosions targeting some 24,000 runners taking part in the top to offer the support of the federal government. In Boston, Molly Line, Fox News.
Boston hospitals quickly mobilized to treat the injured from the explosions at the marathon finish line.
Now, the chief of emergency services at Mass General Hospital there say in his 25 years at the hospital, he had never seen such carnage as he did today. The News Center's Megan Farley is in Boston this evening outside of Mass General with the latest on what happened and the treating of the wounded. Hi, Megan.
Hey guys, that's right. We've been here at Massachusetts General all afternoon, and you can see behind me here, a day that started out so wonderful. There was a great energy. This Boston Marathon brings in hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people every year. To end like this, some people said it reminded them and brought them back to 9/11. For now, we're live in Boston. I'm Megan Farley for the News Center.
Thank you, Megan. The governor of Massachusetts says the White House contacted him almost immediately after the explosions, saying the administration would provide whatever support was needed. Deval Patrick said, "This is a horrific day in Boston. My thoughts and prayers are with those who have been injured. Our focus is on making sure that the area around Copley Square is safe and secured." Governor Patrick and the Boston mayor are asking everyone to stay away from that area. New York's governor also speaking out, saying, "Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Boston and Massachusetts as reports come in on the horrific tragedy at the Boston Marathon." Andrew Cuomo also said he's directing state agencies to be on higher alert and has sent New York National Guard soldiers to Boston for support.
Question, of course, now about all of this is who would have done this, who's responsible. As of right now, no one has come forward to take responsibility for this attack. Authorities saying they have no suspects in custody yet. However, SUNY Albany security expert Rick Matthews tells us he thinks we may know soon who was behind this.
Somebody's going to take credit for this. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me. I mean, this was not a suicide attack. So that means that they're wanting to take credit for it. They attacked at the heart of the United States, hit Boston to the Boston Marathon, which is nothing but a big peaceful event that occurs here every year. Runners from all around the world come here. And again, having it occur this late in the race sort of also hits cutting in at the heart and soul of the country. It's not the top runners necessarily, it's all the everyday American and other international runners that come here and their families.
As we hear from the witnesses of today's attack, we can only imagine their pain and horror. The pictures will be ingrained in our minds for years. The News Center's Mark Baker has been monitoring the video coming out of Boston throughout the day and joins us now with more. Mark?
Lydia, it's eerie to watch. One moment, happy, healthy people running a marathon with family, friends, and other spectators having a good time on a nice, beautiful day. They say a fire this afternoon at the JFK Library was not related to the bombings. No one hurt there. John?
All right, Mark, you know, we've been talking about this tragedy, about everything that happened at the marathon today, but we haven't really looked into why it's specifically run on this specific day and why this day is actually very important, not just for Boston, but for all Americans. The News Center's sports director, Drew Brill, explaining the background on the race now. Hi, Drew.
Hi, John. Most marathons are run on weekends where spectators have off from work and can line the streets to cheer on the runners. But today is Patriots Day in Massachusetts and is a statewide holiday. The hearts go out to all the victims in this tragedy. Lost in all of this, the historic Jackie Robinson Day around Major League Baseball. We'll have more on that and some local reaction to Jackie Robinson coming up later in News Center Sports. Lydia and John, back to you guys.
Thank you, Drew. Still ahead, we are just beginning our extensive team coverage of the bombing in Boston.
We are going to have a reaction from local runners about this attack, and many of them getting ready for this area's biggest road race coming up in just a few weeks. We'll also show you how security being beefed up in many major cities tonight, including New York City, Washington. Stay with us. An important night to be here. You're watching the News Center on Fox 23.
You're watching Lydia Colbita, John Gray, Chief Meteorologist Steve Caparizzo, and sports with Drew Brill. This is News Center at 10 on Fox 23, now in HD.
Continuing our coverage now of the marathon, 27,000 runners that take part in the Boston Marathon. Some 500,000 people expect to show up just to watch.
Among the crowd, a number of runners from the capital region with their family and friends coming along for support. The News Center's Trishna Begum spoke with one spectator who was at the scene. Trishna?
Lydia, tonight, Tony Rubino is staying at the lobby of a hotel in Boston. All of the rooms are sold out. Sure when she'll return home, but for the time being, she tells me that she's just too scared to take the train home.
All right, thank you, Trishna. You know, most of the major cities in this country, even some around the globe, are stepping up their own security measures following the Boston Marathon explosions today. New York City police stepping up their security at hotels and other prominent locations that tourists might go, Statue of Liberty, Times Square, places like that. An NYPD spokesman says critical response teams are also being deployed across New York City until more can be known about the explosion in Boston. Security was tightened in Washington, D.C., especially near the White House. They closed down Pennsylvania Avenue. A Los Angeles County spokesman also says their police department increasing patrols on transit and popular areas such as the Los Angeles Dodgers game tonight. Even London increasing their own security tonight. Officials there saying that they are reviewing their own security plans for the Sunday scheduled London Marathon. The FAA is also warning pilots that there is still a no-fly zone over parts of Boston following the two explosions at the marathon. The no-fly zone was issued for about an hour after the explosion, covers a 3.5-mile radius around the center of the site. The zone is limited to flights under 3,000 feet in altitude.
Following the explosions at the Boston Marathon today, Amtrak says it is stepping up security measures. Amtrak increased security at stations and track right-of-ways. At the Rensselaer Amtrak station today, security was announcing over the loudspeaker that any bags or items left unattended would be confiscated by Amtrak police. The News Center spoke with a man coming back from Boston who was very concerned. He says he was staying at a hotel with a number of people who ran in the marathon.
I was really concerned because I stayed at a hostel with a bunch of people who ran the marathon, so my first thoughts were with them.
Amtrak is also asking passengers to be vigilant and if they see anything suspicious to call 1-800-331-0008 or just call 911. The one nuclear power plant in Massachusetts is increasing its security after the explosions. The Pilgrim nuclear power plant's about 45 minutes south of Boston in Plymouth. The Pilgrim plant was already shut down for refueling when the explosions happened this afternoon, but federal officials say they will be increasing inspections of vehicles entering the plant.
Coming up, much more coverage of the tragedy in Boston tonight.
We'll talk with the owner of a local running store who says he had many friends and family running in the marathon today.
And in weather, looks like some good news for a change this week. We may actually have some April-like weather.
You're watching News Center at 10 on Fox 23, now in HD.
Welcome back. With such a large running community locally and Boston being so close to us, you know, many runners from the capital region were in Boston today taking part in this marathon. The News Center's Anya Tucker spoke with the owner of Fleet Feet Sports in Colony about the people he knew who were running today.
I spoke with Charles Woodruff. He is the owner of Fleet Feet Sports here in Colony. They sell running shoes, running apparel, and they also hold many seminars about running. A number of those runners, he tells me, were actually participating in the Boston Marathon earlier. He said he tried many times to reach his son. Luckily, he was finally able to hear back from his son, who let him know that he was okay. In Colony, Anya Tucker for the News Center.
That scene repeated so often today. After the bombs went off, family and friends frantically took to Facebook and Twitter to check on the safety of runners and spectators. The News Center's Elisa Streeter has more on how social media helped.
Well, Lydia, this is when social media is at its best, connecting friends and family in the midst of a tragedy. One could actually make their reports there. So once again, in a time of tragedy, social media help provide opportunities for connecting, catharsis and comfort. Lydia.
Thank you so much, Elisa. In Washington, members of the House stopped what they were doing to observe a moment of silence for victims of the Boston Marathon explosions. California Congressman Darrell Issa called on members of the House to recognize the lives lost. 3 have been reported dead so far, more than 130 injured. President Obama was briefed within minutes of the explosions. Later, while speaking to the nation and acknowledging that officials still do not know who did this or why, he promised that those responsible will feel the full weight of justice. Coming up, we will continue to follow the latest on the Boston Marathon explosions.
We've got another check-in with our reporter who is in Boston right now outside of Mass General. Plus, we'll take a look at how this might affect the Freihofer's run coming up right here in June.
And we'll take a look at some other news of the day, including the legal trouble a star Siena basketball player is facing. You're watching the News Center on Fox 23.
You're watching News Center at 10 on Fox 23, now in HD.
And welcome back. We are continuing to cover the tragedy in Boston today after 2 explosions happened at the finish line of the Boston Marathon.
At least 3 people were killed in the explosion, more than 100 injured, some critically. And authorities say no one's claimed responsibility yet for the attack. They have no suspects in custody at this time.
The News Center's Megan Farley has been in Boston since this story broke this afternoon, joining us now live outside of Mass General with the latest. Hi, Megan.
Hey guys, that's right. We're here outside of Mass General Hospital. We've been here for several hours now, and earlier at the top of the 10 o'clock, I showed you there was a lot of national media. They've still camped out here a bit, but really a really horrific afternoon here in Boston. But again, it's early still. It's all kind of settling. But people here, the one thing that they wondered is why someone would target a city on what they called one of the happiest days. This Boston Marathon is a time of year that everybody really looks forward to. So for now, we're live in Boston. I'm Megan Farley for the News Center.
Thank you so much, Megan. The tragedy unfolding at the Boston Marathon brings up concerns for some for the upcoming annual Freihofer's Run for Women this June. Freihofer's Run brings thousands of runners to the capital region for the 5K run, the junior run, and community walk. We spoke with some people involved while they were at their weekly training session this afternoon. Most of them new people running in the Boston Marathon today and say they are horrified and shocked by the tragedy, but that what happened today will not necessarily change the security plans for Freihofer's this June.
You know, that's yet to be seen. I mean, the smoke is still, it's still billowing out there. I mean, let's wait to see, you know, what comes out of it. I'm sure that, you know, security has always been an issue, has always been a concern at the Freihofer's Run for Women since September 11th. And, you know, it always will be. And, you know, we're cognizant of it, and we have our security plan in place, and it's been in place. Let's see what happens from here.
In the meantime, organizers say the training and preparations for the race will be going on as scheduled and that everyone is still very much looking forward to the run. Taking a look at some of the other stories making news today, new details on a story we first brought to you yesterday. The bones found during a search for a missing Scotia Glenville teenager are animal bones, not human ones. Police say the 20 bones are from a mix of different animal remains. Dozens of volunteers gathered yesterday to search a wooded area in Glenville for clues related to the disappearance of Craig Freer 9 years ago. He was last seen in June of 2004. The man who authorities say attacked a uniformed U.S. Army officer in an Albany Walmart is free on bail. 47-year-old Yikwang Wu of Schenectady was charged with assault as a hate crime after police say video surveillance shows him verbally harassing and then attacking the soldier. The Army captain told police that Wu yelled derogatory comments at him about the U.S. and his service to the nation and then struck the officer in the face several times. It's not been determined yet whether Wu has a lawyer. In our crime alert, Siena basketball player Rakeem Brookins was in court tonight for his preliminary hearing after being arrested on burglary and larceny charges, accused of stealing a wallet from a Siena townhouse.
The News Center's Anya Tucker looks into the case against the player.
Rakeem Brookins is still on the docket tonight for his preliminary hearing, only instead telling us that they're referring all questions right now to the Colony Police Department. In Colony, Anya Tucker for the News Center.
Some key measures of Governor Cuomo's SAFE Act going into effect today, much to the disappointed of groups protesting against it.
Coming up, what you need to know about the new rules and the regulations that are part of this new law.
Plus, a bit of confusion from some people as the same day these measures of the SAFE Act go into effect, the Cuomo administration announces a new grant program for shooting ranges. Why they say the shooting ranges are actually needed next.
Welcome back. Key measures of the New York SAFE Act kicked in today. The measures include that owners of guns now classify assault weapons and must register their weapons in the state. News 10's Christine O'Donnell has the rest of it.
Well, as of today, this right here, the New York State Police headquarters, is one of several places people can actually register their assault weapons. First, they'll receive a 30-day warning and could eventually be charged with a misdemeanor and have their weapons seized. For now, I'm reporting from the New York State Police headquarters in Latham. I'm Christine O'Donnell for the News Center.
While the Cuomo administration has been under heavy criticism for the new gun law, they claim they are okay with guns so long as they're used properly. They're even launching a new grant program for shooting ranges. State Department of Environmental Conservation says the new program will distribute $65,000 in matching grants this year for nonprofit or municipal firing ranges. The money will come from federal firearms tax money, which is required for education programs. Grant applications will be taken through May 31st, and they should be used for developing firearms and archery proficiency necessary for, quote, safe and ethical hunting.
And by the way, the Supreme Court's saying they are not going to get involved in the gun debates, at least not right now. Today, the justices declined to hear an appeal from a group of gun owners from New York State who claim the SAFE Act is simply unconstitutional. The law is requiring people seeking a permit to carry a firearm in public to show proper cause. That is more than just self-defense. Since the High Court says they will not intervene in the SAFE Act, or at least now, the new state law is staying right where it is, in place.
Taking a look at the continuing tensions in North Korea now. North Korea is celebrating a major holiday today, the birthday of its founder. And as they celebrate, their Pacific neighbors worry, along with the U.S., that North Korea may be preparing for a missile launch in the near future. Fox News correspondent Marianne Rafferty has the details.
North Korea is celebrating 101 years since the birth of Kim Il-sung. In New York, Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
In our consumer alert tonight, Dish Network making a major bid to buy Sprint Nextel. Dish is making a $25.5 billion offer now, or bid, to buy Sprint, trying to outbid the Japanese company called SoftBank. SoftBank said that it would pay about $20 billion, but they only want 70% stake in the company. Sprint stock has been jumping crazy now recently as investors began looking at this bidding war between Dish and SoftBank. Sprint Nextel has said that it will evaluate all of the offers and then make a decision. News Center's Drew Brill is here now to take a look at some of the other sporting events that happened today.
Thanks, John. It's Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball, but we have some high school action and their reaction to Jackie Robinson coming up next in News Center Sports.
You're watching News Center at 10 on Fox 23, now in HD.
Of course, the big story of the night continues to be the horrible tragedy at the Boston Marathon today.
People still struggling to somehow come to grips with what happened there. Again, 3 people killed in the explosion, one an 8-year-old boy, at least 144 people injured, 17 of them critically. No one has come forward yet to claim responsibility in the attacks. Authorities say no one is in custody at this point. Major cities like New York, Washington, D.C., even London, Los Angeles, all stepping up security in response to the attacks in Boston today.
Now let's check on the continuing coverage on the bombing coming up at 11 on 10 ABC. Here's Elisa Streeter.
Lydia and John, we have more team coverage of the tragedy in Boston with a live update at the heart of the attack. Hear more from people who were near the finish line when those bombs went off. We'll also have more on the massive response to the explosions through stepped-up security and the multi-agency investigation into who is responsible. That's all in just a couple of minutes over on the News Center at 11 on 10 ABC.
Thank you so much, Elisa, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Tough night for the news, but we're glad you're with us. We'll see you soon.